Welcome to another Auto Spec Renew video. We are with Richard again here in the UK. It's fantastic.
It's actually the UK and it's sunny. What's going on, Jerome? You brought Californian weather with you.
Exactly. So we're here with your fantastic Kombi.
Yeah.
So tell us everything about it. I know it has a fantastic drivetrain, lots of power, fantastic range. So let's go through it all.
This is my workhorse, Jerome. Although it looks really nice and clean, this gets hammered. Literally by me, my wife, the guys in work, because this is my daily driver. I have a few daily drivers. I've got my Land Rover and my Beetle, but this is my main daily driver, if you like. This is the one that gets driven in the rain, the snow, the sleet, salt on the roads. This is what gets used for me as a family vehicle. We go on holiday in it, and it also gets used in the workshop when we've got to put stuff in the back because it's a crew cab. So let's start with what vehicle it is first of all.
Yeah.
Right, so it's a Volkswagen Type 2, 1969. It's what's called an early bay. So bay windows came in kind of two flavours, if you like. Early bays, where the indicators were down here, and late bays, which was around about 71, 72 onwards, where the indicators are up here, and the late bays had square bumpers. So I love my early bays. This is a 1969-70 year, and it's a crew cab. So if you come around the side, you can see that it kind of goes to there and then goes into a pickup at the back.
And the interesting thing is there's only one door on the passenger side.
Yes,
this
exactly.
side doesn't open.
Yep, so no door here. So if you come around here, as you've already pointed out, which is on the driver's side, you always have the door on the driver's side. So if it was a left-hand drive, the door would be over on the other side.
Okay, yep.
So when I was looking for my own daily driver, I knew I wanted a really practical car, 5-6 seats, and I wanted a utility sort of like a pickup area in the back. And I narrowed it down to a Land Rover 110 and a crew cab, because I like my Volkswagens and my Land Rovers, as you know. And the trouble with a Land Rover 110 is, this is your bonnet, your windscreen's here, and then your cab finishes around about there. And you can see the problem then.
Yeah.
That's the small little pickup bit that you got at the back. So I thought, well, that's not very practical. And I know my way around a Type 2, so I thought, right, it's going to be a Volkswagen crew cab that we're going to go with. And trying to find a right-hand drive one was a pain. But we found one in South Africa. Because the South African markets are Australia, Japan, South Africa, UK, and then some other countries as well. And Volkswagen, if you come around here, Volkswagen used to make cars in South Africa. So I don't quite know if you can get that in there, but that is the VIN plate that says it's Volkswagen of South Africa.
All right, so it did travel quite a bit for this second life of his.
But not only that, this, believe it or not, was a rapid response bush fire engine in South Africa. Nothing rapid about it.
And Volkswagen don't really go together.
By the time this arrived at the fire, it had already gone out. But it was a fire engine. There was a light on the top. There was a water bowser underneath the back seats.
Wow.
There was loads of hooks for people's equipment, and there was a water cannon in the back. And also, it still has
nice.
the bell. So I kept the bell, got rid of the light, got rid of the rest of the bits and pieces. So yeah, it's got 6 seats, so it's got 2 rows of seats. That's the other thing I wanted when I was looking for a car. This is going back 7 years now, Jerome. So this has got a front row of seats, so you got 3 in there, and then it's got another 3 in the back here. So it's a really practical car because you've got 6 people you can get in it and the pickup bit at the back. And as far as the pickup bit is concerned, you've got all of this.
So being a South African truck, was it in good shape as far as rust? Yeah.
Yeah, to be fair, a fire engine is one of those vehicles that doesn't get driven much, if you know what I mean. So people look after it, they have more time to clean it and detail it, and so it was in really good nick. It had a couple of dings and dents along the way, and some fairly dodgy repairs which we sorted out, but rust wise it was fine. But the trouble is, it had such an easy life in South Africa, where there was no salt on the roads and no Welsh weather, that the first thing we had to do was underseal it and, you know, get it all good. But this is 7 years later. We gave it a little bit of a paint job. It's the same colour. Exactly the same colour that it came with from South Africa, but apart from a little bit of a paint and underseal, it's lasted really well. And this is literally driven nearly every single day in all weather.
Were you running it as an ice car?
Only for a very short time,
yeah.
Just to see what the mechanicals were like underneath, suspension, knocks, ball joints, and, you know, check that things work okay.
All right.
But then we very quickly thought, right, let's just get rid of this engine, because it was, you know, it wouldn't start. The usual classic car like things. And I love my classic cars, but yeah, no power, wouldn't start, all sorts of problems. So I then ripped it all out and went my tried and tested like route. And in the back, I thought, you know, 45 horsepower isn't enough, Jerome. 450 horsepower is enough. 10 times more. So that's what I did. So in the back underneath here, we've got a Tesla large drive unit. So if you can poke your camera underneath here, you'll probably see sitting underneath there is 450 horsepower of Tesla loveliness. So that just does the trick lovely.
All right. So what does it take to fit this drivetrain in a Volkswagen bus?
So luckily with bay windows, they are what's called an IRS back end, independent rear suspension. So you've got drive shafts coming off. Split screens are a swing axle back end, which means that when the gearbox comes out, the axles and stuff come out with it. So you've got no drive shafts to connect up to a Tesla drive unit. So they're more of a pain to convert to electric. But bay windows, you take the gearbox out, down flops your drive shafts, you put in your Tesla drive unit, put the drive shafts up with some, you know, flanges, let's say, and away you go.
You make it sound so easy. But obviously you've been doing this for over a decade now.
Not quite that old, but thanks for that, Jerome. No, we started in 2000. I started in 2015, but I started the company in 2016.
Okay, 8 years, yeah.
So it's 8 years then, isn't it? See, I can do maths.
So this was at the very beginning of your
this is one of my
journey.
Earliest ones, yeah. In fact, was it my first? No, my first conversion for myself was the Silver Beetle in its first guise, which is, oh my God, this is going back. That was a AC 30 motor I put in it from, was it HPEVs?
Yeah.
HPEVs, yeah, HPEVs. God, that's going back. You're testing me now.
But that's funny.
This was the first, you know, because that was kind of a show car, the Beetle, and this was the first like utility type vehicle we did. So I thought, right, I want a Tesla drive unit. They go really nice. We used a EV Controls T1C,
all right,
which was the display like that from Chris over at EV Controls, and I love those things. The thing about the EV control stuff is you just fit it and it just works. That's how electric conversion stuff should be.
Right.
And now obviously we've upgraded to the T2C because I didn't quite like that screen in the middle of an old dashboard. So we upgraded it a few years back to the T2C. But you're probably wondering, and everybody out there is probably wondering, where's the batteries? Are they underneath? No. Because as you know, in the UK, we have to abide by the rules and regulations. You can't cut into chassis and all that sort of stuff. So the easiest would have been just to actually put a battery pack, like a Model 3 battery pack or whatever, underneath and, you know, make space for it. But if you can't do that, you've got to then mount it underneath the chassis, which means that it would have probably come down about 3.5 inches lower down. Not ideal for ground clearance. So what we ended up doing is behind here is a massive space where the petrol tank used to be.
Okay.
So if you imagine, if I open up this, you'll see the back seat goes to around about here, and then there's a bulkhead panel there that's just, you can bolt them off. And then behind this space in there, actually it goes all the way to about there, does the space really. It's just nothingness.
Okay, on the regular car?
Yeah, on the regular, and there was a petrol tank in there, and that was about it. And, you know, about half a ton of like animal, you know, stuff. We were digging the animal stuff out with a trowel. It was that deep. I don't know what animals are in Africa that could have done it, but there was animal poo in there, there was animal nests in there was seeds, there was nuts, there was all sorts. It wasn't just one animal that lived in there was like a family.
Generations,
exactly. So we had to get all that out, and then in there then is a Tesla battery pack. So we've managed to fit 100 kilowatt hours.
All right.
So it's a complete battery pack out of a Tesla Model S or Model X. But instead of putting them, normally you've got 16 modules like
side
this,
by side, yeah.
or actually like that, side by side, and then you've got the penthouse on top. We took the batteries and then we stacked them like a stack of cards. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
On their side, you mean?
All the way on their side, yep. Like that, 16 of them. And they go in a box which just goes all the way across the vehicle.
Okay.
So it's perfect weight distribution. So it's exactly where you want the weight, nice and low down. And if I bring up the seat here, you can probably just about make out the front of the box.
Yeah. All right.
So as far
you still
as
have room under the seat, under the bench. That's perfect.
in fact, as storage space is concerned, we've got more storage space now than we used to have, because we've still got the space underneath there. You've still got the space underneath the front seats.
And lots of leg room also.
Loads of leg room. Yeah, it's not like some vehicles I can mention. Land Rover. But in the back here, where the engine used to be, is now
plenty of room.
Another storage compartment. So we've now actually ended up with more storage than the original petrol car, which, it's quite rare in conversions. I mean, usually try to end up with the same, or maybe take up a little bit of storage space in the conversion, but this is one of those rare times that we've ended up with more.
All right, let's go back to the batteries and how do you cool those guys, and what the BMS and...
Yeah, sure. So as far as the battery and the motor is concerned, one of the problems you've got in a Volkswagen, if you go to the front, you'll notice one glaring problem. There's no radiator grill, Jerome. So, where do you put your coolant radiators? Because it was an air-cooled engine in this. This is just your vent for internal
dashboard,
air.
Is there any room underneath?
Not
maybe?
really. Not really.
Yeah.
So, Beetles, buses, 911s, for instance, all have a problem as to where you're going to put radiators. So if you come with me, you see these slats here? Well, that was the air intake, if you like, for the engine.
Yep.
To try to get your cool air to go over the engine and cool it down. And if I open this back up now, what we've done, I'll take this out, you'll see here, one radiator there.
Yes.
So that's the one that's running right now for the motor and your header tank. So that's your motor radiator, and the same on the other side there. You've got your battery radiator.
Right.
And you might think, why do you need a battery radiator? Well, it's because if you come around here, batteries get warm if you're taking lots of amps out of them very quickly or putting lots of amps in very quickly. Mm-hmm. And because of the size of these tyres, they're like that. I can't really take amps out very quickly without doing massive burnouts, although it has traction control, so that's a good thing.
But there's nothing wrong with doing burnout.
No, not at all. People say, oh, electric cars don't pollute. Well, they're not trying hard enough, Jerome. Take off your traction control and let me have a go. I'll show you how they pollute. But I can't put the power down too much, so I can't take the amps out of the battery enough to heat the battery up too much. But because we've got CCS.
Nice.
You're putting a lot of amps in very quickly, so you do need battery coolant whenever you have CCS. There's a 150 kilowatt CCS system on there, and that's definitely required when you're putting lots of amps in for sustained periods. So that's the battery coolant side of things. Battery management, if you come over here, I'm making you work for your money today, Jerome. Lots of walking around, you're starting to perspire. So here, I don't know if you can quite see, but there's the BMS display.
All right.
So that tells me all I need to know about where the amps are, and so what we are at around about half pack. And I drove down yesterday, down on the motorways, probably about 150 miles. No, it's less than that. It was about 125 miles.
All right.
3 hours.
So this would give you over 200 miles?
Yeah, so 200 miles if I'm hammering it on the motorway, legal load, 70 miles an hour on the motorway. So about 200 miles if I'm hammering it, 250 miles normal driving. Wow. So I get usually around about 250 miles.
Yeah, and keeping in mind this is like a proper brick as far as aerodynamics.
It's not as bad as a Land Rover.
Well,
Land Rover Defenders are terrible.
Yeah, I mean,
But
100 kilowatt
aerodynamically,
hour.
it's not brilliant.
Yeah.
But it's equally not as bad as you might think.
All right.
Because it's got curvature.
Yeah.
Most importantly, it's got a curved windscreen, and it's the flat windscreen on a Defender that really kills the range.
Yeah.
So it's not as bad as you might think. It's a little bit lowered. So a standard bus would be a couple of inches higher. And one thing that did make the difference as well, I'm always looking for opportunities to increase the aerodynamics or the efficiency of cars. Like on the Ferrari Testarossa, we put a flat floor all the way underneath. You couldn't do that on the petrol one because the engine would overheat. But we did that on the Testarossa, and that got us more efficiency.
All right.
So on this, what I've done is this roof. So if the back was left open, this tailgate here, would act like a parachute. So initially I had a bit of tarpaulin that kind of just covered this.
Okay.
Because from the factory you could get these tarpaulin roofs, but they were up here.
Okay.
So you can probably find, if you Google the images, they're normally up there for industrial purposes when people used to buy these trucks. But I never liked that because it just looked odd having a tarpaulin roof up there, and aerodynamically, bang,
it just
the air
doesn't
just
work.
hits
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And I found a company that made them, but roof height. So this
Perfect.
isn't standard, and I bought that a couple of months ago. So that adds an additional practicality to the vehicle, because now I shall demonstrate what happens when we go camping. Look.
Oh, you just slip in the back.
A proper, king size double bed in here.
And this is breathable, so you don't. Yeah.
And the sides go up here as well.
Oh, yeah.
So we put a mattress. There's camping for me now at my age. It has to be.
What do you mean your age?
Has to be glamping. I'm over 50 now, but gone are the days where I'm trying to sleep on grass. I have to have comfort.
Yeah.
So in goes a proper bed mattress, and like duvet and cushions, and so this has added a lot of practicality to the whole vehicle. So 250-mile range, 450 horsepower, 0 to 60 in about 5 seconds, and I can get a double bed in the back.
Happy days.
It's a perfect vehicle, isn't it? Yeah. So,
going back to efficiency, the wheels, aren't they a bit less tall yet wider than they would have been?
Good point.
Yeah.
So these are Porsche cookie cutters. So I changed it to 5 stud wheels. So these are Porsche cookie cutters off, I don't know, 944s and things like that. So they're a bit wider. In fact, you could just about get a piece of paper between the arch and the tyre, but it doesn't rub. So these are 205 60-15s on the rear. It's the widest tyre you can get in a bay window. But on the front, we got exactly the same, but if you can get your camera in there, you'll see I've upgraded to Willwood disc setup on the front.
All right.
And a heavy-duty anti-roll bar. So handling-wise, it's insane. Anybody that's into their buses and drives this will just go, what?
And again, the weight is as low as possible.
You got your weight.
And in the centre.
Weight is there, right in the centre. You've got Willwood disc brake setups, anti-roll bars, wider tyres, power steering, as my wife drives it a lot as well, so it's got a nice power steering. I haven't even had to put boosted brakes on the front.
Okay.
So you can get a power boosted brakes like vacuum brakes on the front. Didn't need it. These brakes are just awesome.
What about heating and do you have AC on this?
No. I have heating, but not AC. We need AC in the UK, Jerome. You just open the window, all quarter lights. I love
that's nice.
lights. So no, we don't have AC, although we do have a heat pump system that we've just received, and we're going to be putting that on to our vehicles going forward, because heat pump. So this has your typical PTC elements, and they're not the most energy efficient things. They work great, and anybody out there doesn't know what they are, think of a hand dryer in a washroom. You put your hands underneath there, air goes through an element like a hairdryer, and instant heat comes out.
But it uses lots of juice.
Use lots of juice, and then if you've got a separate AC system, that's also going to use lots of juice. Lots of Teslas around us here, and a lot of them use heat pumps to generate the heat and the cooling. and we've got a heat pump system that's going to go on this in the next month.
Nice.
As testing, because this is my test mule as well, don't forget. So we've got 3-phase AC charging on it, CCS bi-directional as well on it, so it's got all these features that we normally test on my vehicles first and then put onto the customer vehicles. So I'm really looking forward to testing the heat pump system, which is going to do the AC and the heat, and do some back-to-back measurements as to how efficient it is, because I'm going to leave the old heating system in it to be able to say, right, we're going to get cab temperature up to 18 degrees inside, and then cool it down and get it up to 18 degrees with a heat pump system, and see how much energy that takes. So,
and at Electric Classic Cars, you don't just do conversion, you also do full kits that you ship abroad.
Yeah.
Is it an option? Is the Kombi an option for you to ship abroad? What type of package do you offer?
So that's a good question, because there's, although this looks like a standard vehicle, shape, it's not standard. There's nothing standard about Type 2s. You can get them in single cabs, crew cabs, vans, campers, and the campers can come in, Westphalia, Devon, all these different configurations inside. And then you've got custom ones as well. So there's 2 different flavours of kit that we do for buses. Number 1 is like a van type conversion. So that's literally like this box here, but it sits behind the driver's bulkhead there and goes across.
Okay.
So that's if they've got a van or a camper based off a van conversion, like a DIY, because that's a really easy kit conversion. It's just one box and motor in the back with a cradle. And people are probably wondering, why don't we put the battery in the back here? Well, wait. Because obviously a battery weighs a lot, and it would be ever so easy and simple just to put a battery pack in the back there. But then you've got your motor, your battery, everything in the back there. We talked about 300 kilos of weight, and it would just be like that.
Doing wheelies all day.
Dangerous, because you've got no weight on the front, steering's too light. Yeah. And, okay, the original engine and gearbox and fuel tank was in the back. So you could say, oh, it's designed to do that, but not that amount of weight. 150 kilos, fine. 350 kilos, no. Okay. So you've got to have your battery pack where the load carrying capacity was designed on a Type 2.
Did you have to reinforce the frame at all?
No. Because don't forget, this is originally the Type 2 was designed as a utility vehicle. It was designed as a van. It was only later on that we can turn this into campers and sell more. So originally it was designed as a utility truck, if you like. So it's designed to carry the weight there. So the 2 types is you can either have a single battery pack that goes along there and then motor in the back, or then the camper version, which essentially is where your rock and roll seat bed is here. So normally you've got a seat in the back there, and it goes out like that into a bed. One box goes there, and then a smaller box goes here, where there's normally a seat behind the passenger seat. So it's 2 boxes. So one goes there, and then one goes there.
And what does it take to install the system? Do you provide trade specialists only, or do you also provide individuals?
We don't do DIY kits. We only supply to companies and specialists that are either EV conversion shops, or they are a Volkswagen specialists somewhere and want to get into the EV conversion market. And then for those guys, we then train them up to be familiar with our kit. But the kits themselves, they're completely bolt in. It's not like, here's a list of parts, good luck with that, here there's a roll of cable. This is completely bench tested and set up. So the battery boxes, the motor, the cradle all bolts in. You'll have your low voltage loom, your high voltage loom, and it's just a case of connecting it all up, switching it on, and away you go, because it's already bench tested in the factory before it gets shipped out.
All right, I think it's time to take it for a spin.
Righty-ho.
All right.
So I've gone into cameraman mode now. Jerome's driving.
Again, there's so much room. You could have easily 3 people in the front and cruise all day.
There's lots of room in the back, that's for sure. And in here,
is this an extra you added?
No, that's nice, we've just trimmed it to match the seats and the door cards. But that's about all the luxury you've got, a little bit of leather.
Well, to be fair, the luxury is not only the room and the fact that everything looks original. That's what I love about those conversions. Now, how do I start this up?
It's actually, I've left it on, I just realised.
Ah,
This
right.
is the thing with electric cars, that you just leave them on.
The handbrake is not
So,
on?
no, the handbrake, you just like that and push it in. So down by your feet, there's no clutch pedal, you can see. So you got much more, space for your feet.
Yep.
And there's no gear stick coming up here, sort of thing.
I could drive like this.
Yeah, exactly. You're looking cool there, right? You just need some shades on there, Jerome. But as far as driving it is concerned, just put your foot on the brake. And then turn the knob here, which is your direction for D. No, D.
Oh, D.
There you go. So we've used a Volkswagen style switch here just to match the other switches for drive, neutral and reverse. And then slowly, please slowly, you just off
No
you go.
burnouts today on the grass?
No, we'll get kicked off.
You can actually drive this. Like
It's got
this.
traction control on, so you shouldn't be able to do burnouts, but don't try.
Challenge accepted.
But isn't it quiet on grass?
It's fantastic, so smooth, quiet, you can have a perfect conversation. And
So yeah, it's heating wise, you still use the same controls there, and it's interior wise, as far as the dashboard is concerned, it just all looks the same dials. The fuel gauge, which is here, is exactly as it used to be, and we just give it the same signal to drive the fuel gauge. So there's no changes on the dashboard whatsoever.
you should go to the casino because you have an 888 number just here. So
Oh, really? I
yeah,
hadn't
it's
seen.
lucky mileage on
When
the
I
truck.
bought it, it was 42,000, I think it was.
Oh, you added as much as it had, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in 7 years, give or take.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it was a low mileage vehicle. But and on the top here is the GPS sensor for the traction control, because we use GPS based traction control, which works really well. I was very dubious about that when I got it from Chris at EV Controls, but I am pleasantly pleased to say that it works perfectly.
So I will not floor this again, but how much juice can you get out of the battery back on the motor?
The same as a Tesla Model S P100D, because we've used a battery pack out of a P100D, and we've used the motor out of a P100D.
All right.
But there's no way you can do the acceleration of a P100D, because that's a dual performance, dual
Setup,
motor,
yeah.
and this is just a single with small skinny tyres.
Would you consider doing I know you did a synchro also on a later generation.
Yep.
What setup did you use on the synchro?
Now that was a motor attached to a gearbox.
Okay.
But if I was going to do it again, I would probably see if I could fit a Model 3 dual motor setup. If I was going to do it again, I'd give it a go anyway.
Have you been fiddling with Tesla Model 3's battery packs? Or modules?
Yes, I have, but only as a home storage system.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I
that's the perfect use.
So I haven't put it into a vehicle yet, because they're not the most practical packs to play around
Quite
with.
bulky.
Yeah.
All right, Richard. Anyone that wants one of their system, where should they visit you?
So we're Electric Classic Cars. So go to electricclassiccars.com, and obviously socials, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all the usual places, and they can follow us on there.
That's the perfect cruiser down the beach.
You look too comfortable in this car. I think you need to stop now and get out and give it back to me, Jerome.
No way, it's too late. Guys, if you like what you saw today, let us know in the comments below. Give us a thumbs up, and guys, we'll see you in the next one.